完了，左边的 Rock 看起来被打得好，但是自己被这个视野给弹回来，又是 Allen 的一个壁咚。
准备要在这一波将巅峰人全员冲掉，
差了一个位置，又是第三个，我的天啊！
然后拿了一个大手，开始持续的追击，现在的话没有得到的 triple，
被波手他换了一个治愈，多你一个治愈，最后是被点输了。
再来一个红丸的一个推，他能不帮忙变效果把小林给推了回去。
And welcome back, everybody, once again to the PCS Summer Split. We are one game into this best-of-5 series in the losers bracket between J-Team and Meta Falcon Team, and it has already been unexpected. But you know what's not unexpected? Our wonderful sponsors being awesome, of course, CTBC Bank and China Airlines. Thank you so much for making the PCS possible and looking to send our teams to Worlds here later on at the end of this whole run. One of these teams may very well be the one to make it, Frank. But I do think, at least in J-Team's case, there's going to have to be a big step up. Even in that win, took them a while to get there, a lot longer than expected.
A lot of expectations are on this J-Team. They made big roster moves coming in from last split. They pretty much not last split, it was last year, right? They completely overhauled the roster. So the expectation is really, as always, Worlds or bust. And right now, in the lower bracket, that game one did not inspire confidence.
No, it is important that they got the win. I think J-Team are a squad that are very, very much dependent on their own confidence, their own momentum, because they are such a slow-building team. So getting there in the end, getting the Nexus against a objectively weaker team does mean that they should be able to start rolling over them as they have done in the past. But there was some stuff that I think MFT did incredibly well. We could see them surprise in the next game. The draft is going to be very telling. We will be getting a selection swap as Meta Falcon Team have opted to go to blue side for this game too.
Yeah, and we'll see where the silver priority is in this game number 2. If it does get taken away by the side of J-Team, or if MFT are even willing to go ahead pick it up for the first pick, because it's not the strongest laner, and I think for both of these bot lanes, they need to get a champion that feels like can stand tall in lane.
Right now in the picks and bans for game 2, it's all about those jungles though. MFT focusing on Kongye's pool, the Vi taken away, and the Pantheon he showcased in the match against Beyond Gaming. For J-Team, they get rid of the Poppy on red side as to be expected, and the Sivir as well.
Kalista still available here. So that's the big champion I'm taking a look at if I'm the side of MFT. And for J-Team, maybe take a look at the Lucian, and maybe that's something they want to go back towards. Maybe they go ahead and ban away the Philios. And it will be Wukong, so really knocking down the jungle pool quite a bit. So we're looking at, Trundle, Xin, Viego being the best junglers left available.
Yeah, I think we might start to dip into the Jarvans, the Nocturnes. I'd love to see that. Nocturne put in an appearance last night. Frank Esports, I think it very well could be a choice here as the Mordekaiser is banned away. I do like the J-Team are respecting that on Taco. They leave Kalista open though. So this could be the takeaway from Lil V, and it is for Whale.
That is Whale's most played champion during the split. And it really changes how they're able to play, right? Because then you're bringing in Engage from the AD carry role, and it also alleviates the Engage duties off of 665. As you saw, as the game goes further and further, you don't want to throw your jungle in when he has so much of the kills, because he can just get bursted out very easily. J-Team, as a result, they quickly respond with the Sylas. It does mean Azir is still left available for MFT, and I think they will be more than happy to snap that one up.
Yeah, a lot of power picks being given to MFT that have been typically banned away from a lot of sides With the jungle pool being pretty depleted, I wouldn't be too surprised to see 665 on something like the Viego. It has been his most played champion, and without it being, the same regular hard engage, it does seem to look like a pick comp in the making for MetaFalcon team.
I would prefer the Trundle to have more of that lane presence, but I can also see why MFT, they go for this Viego pick. Perhaps snowball early on, right? You get a couple kills into the Viego in that first fight, and all of a sudden Viego's just popping up and down the river, taking souls. And okay, the Galio pick.
It's an old school MFT comp. That's what we got. This is what they were known for in the spring split, finding the Wombo combo. And Galio typically was a Wen champion, but now it's going to be Hong too.
Well, see where it actually goes as far as which lane.
I guess it could be a support pick.
Yeah.
It could be for issue. That's true. I'm getting ahead of myself.
Yeah, and especially when you do lock in the melee support, it opens up that angle for MFT if they want to explore that direction. And for J Team, they go ahead, lock themselves in the Phileas Nautilus. Nothing too surprising to see here. Very old school lane. And now the fun part will be in the second phase. The Renata will be taken off the table for the Callista, and maybe something, I don't know, like a Gragas might be really annoying for them to try and deal with the cask being able to disperse and perhaps pick off the Philios later on in the game and create just a lot of disruption, on top of the Galio. Or they look for the Camille, who combines very well with that Galio as well.
This is incredible. MFT have taken all of their bans at Kongye so far. Like, what else are they gonna get rid of? Do they ban? Yeah, they banned the Lee Sin. I was about to ask. All 5 bans thrown at Kongye. They do not want him to have fun playing League of Legends today.
Still leaves up to Lee Sin, or not Lee Sin, the Xin.
Yeah,
so
I mean, yeah, it does. But
I feel like you're kind of stuck on Xin duties, but instead they actually save last pick here for Kongye. So if something really spicy comes out from the side of MFT, maybe they fall onto the Kiana, right? Where if you're given this backline access, as we've seen, J Team, they've been playing a lot more flank heavy as of late. That could be the way for them to really mess with MFT on how they want to establish more front to back playstyle.
So I wanna petition an idea here, Nightstar. Sejuani could potentially, just maybe, be a flex into the jungle.
I would have liked to see the Galio go into that bottom lane in this instance, and then they just go ahead and lock themselves into Azir in this particular instance, because if you're scared about the dive, that is one way to easily clear things out. But now, as you mentioned, it could just be the Sejuani into the jungle.
Yeah, Jack's last pick in here for Rock, and it's been a champion Taco's been much happier to take, but all of a sudden, this is a terrifying late game J Team comp.
A lot of scaling here coming in from the side of J Team, but it's not too shabby over on the side of MFT. They don't have all the scaling at the late game part, but in the mid game, they're incredibly strong. And if they are able to effectively snowball, Taco in the late game can 1v9 certain situations with how much damage the Gwen can output late game.
And Taco has been a player that in the past iteration of MFT was able to do that. Again, talking about his spring split performance, he had massive standouts. Gwen was one of the champions that let him do it. I think there are a lot of tools on this MFT side. Their mid game is certainly going to be terrifying. But J Team have built themselves a very straightforward game plan, right? They've got scaling just about everywhere. They have a incredible 4-1. And as long as Rock doesn't get shoved in too hard against the Gwen, always a possibility, I think he is going to have a pretty solid game himself. We've seen Jax be shut down. It's going to be on J Team's side, particularly Kongye, to be not letting him fall too far behind and get too delayed.
And for the side of J Team, I like this composition crafting because they've got 4 melees, which really plays towards Sejuani's strengths, being able to get those resets on the stun very, very quickly. Unfortunately, though, it also means this is pretty much a full dive composition. Lil V is off on his own. If the side of MFT can get onto Lil V, and they have the Galio to try and do so, it's not going to be a lot of fun for the AD carry of J Team.
Yeah, not just the Galio, right? That's CC City on the MFT side, and we'll have to see if Lil V is the target du jour. And if MFT can find a win back into the game, it should come in the mid stages. Tie us up at 1-1, but J Team not going to be keen on letting that happen. They would like their redemption arc to start right here, right now, and make a run through the lower bracket. Keep in mind, J Team, this is a squad an organization that has not been on the world stage since 2019.
Yeah.
For such a storied org, for so many strong players too. They would love to get back to that stage, but they have a long climb to do it. Even if they win here today, Nightstar, they have to face off against whoever loses between PSG and CTBC Flying Oyster. That ain't going to be easy.
Yeah, from now on, if they drop a single series, that's them out of world contention. For PCS, it's only the final 2 teams that will make the world's stage, and means that there is no room for error once you do get knocked down to the lower stage.
Look at our start here. Hongye. Make it a leash. I think they were just shadowing to make sure that there wasn't going to be an invade coming through. So let's talk a little bit about Sejuani in the jungle. This was a champion that made quite a lot of appearances there in the past, but has fallen out of favor in exchange for the top lane Sejuani.
Yes. And it's not really Sejuani's fault for falling out of the jungle role. It's just the fact that top lane Sejuani is just way too strong. As we get to see early level 1 trade, it is lethal tempo on this Jack, so he does much work.
Yeah, doesn't go all in. Keep in mind the difference in summoners too. Rock has the flash while Taco has the ignite. That is a bit of a mutually assured destruction summoner. You know, don't kill me, otherwise I'll kill you too. But I do like what Rock is bringing out here. After his last series performance was a bit mixed, I like to see him getting a little more aggressive early on in this game.
This is a great way to do so. Great level 1 start. When you run something like the lethal tempo, it's all about the individual duels, and especially so about that level 1. If you get that level 1 trade, the lethal tempo means you just pump out so much damage, and there's just no response. Kongrye, we fully expect him to try and make a trip up into the top lane. That's why you see Rock pushing very aggressively, because once the bounce happens, it does put Taco in a very precarious position. And that's why you see 665 actually make an early move up towards this top half.
Yeah, 665 got very active early in the first game on Wukong, and I really like to see him as a player stepping up there. But then he started to get a little bit too aggro, waited out in the brush over by Blue Buff on the enemy side, kind of got punished hard for it. Let's see what he does on this Viego. Level 3, going to be able to clear Scuttle Crab away. And Viego's a champion that has seen a lot of action here in the PCS and hasn't been the top tier pick for a little bit, but so many jungle bans by his own team. 665 dips into his pool.
And a great minion wave pull coming in from Taco, able to establish a bit of a freeze up in the top lane. That helps him out considerably and getting him back in.
Ooh, engage down bot. It doesn't result in anything, but Issue going the distance on that Zenith Blade.
Yeah, and Whale on the Callista pick.
Enzo finds him.
Pick he really likes to play. Gives him a bit of a lane presence and allows him to be more of a facilitating role as the game moves on. But for Lil V, this is also his Aphelios, which, I mean, if we remember his pool back in spring, it was really Aphelios or bust. Didn't look the same when he was put on champions not Aphelios, so look for him to be really comfortable on this champion.
Well, what you predicted came to pass. Konge up in this top side looking for the gank, but 665 is also there. They get the stun off onto Taco. Here comes Konge, instantly completes the charge with the flash, and they get first blood. Rock trying to run for the hills, but 665 will take him down. As the trade completes, both top laners lose their lives and their summoners on B.
It will be 665 shoving this wave out. Unfortunately, Rock will be able to still catch it, that he does have the teleport. And it's going to be about these junglers now. Because Konya able to get that first gank off. He gets a kill into himself for 665. He gets extra EXP because of him being able to shove in that extra wave of minions as we get to see the trade. It's really nice coming in from Konya, being able to flash forward and get the double stun. So much extra damage coming in from the W as well from low range. So, all things considered, J-Team, they trade up in that exchange, getting the first blood, and also having CS advantages all across the board.
Yeah, they would like to get the kill on the Jax and not the Sejuani, but, you know, nothing can be quite perfect, so J-Team off to a decent start. It is going to be all about Rock in the late game. Of course, Lil V will still have a fair bit to do as well, and that's been a pretty quiet lane despite a little bit of trading here and there. The CS edge given to the Aphelios, but with both supports being able to set up a fight at a moment's notice, I think that could change pretty quickly. And this mid lane we haven't talked about much because it's a Galio. He doesn't really have the kill threat as much. I mean, I guess sometimes he does, but usually when it's a player named Mission, Konge is coming right back to this top side. Taco could be in trouble.
Only level 5.
Yeah, both sides there, and that's going to be the stun up. They tank some tower shots. Konge walks out of it. Can't finish the fight, but Rock is looking for a second wind on here. Here they go. That Galio's coming in. The hero's entrance. It comes in just to secure things by Uniboy as he basically teleports short range up. But MFT take advantage of the lapse of position by grabbing themselves that first dragon. But there's the cloud for a kill and some plates. That's a great trade for J-Team.
Yeah, a great result for the side of J-Team. It's not quite the same as we saw in the previous game, right? Where Taco, he dies to a dive, but then the side of MFT are able to sing themselves a combat dragon. This time, that's not the case. They land with the Cloud Dragon here. Not going to have the same sort of impact. It's still first dragon into their hands, which at 7 minutes is pretty early. But I think, all things considered, J-Team are very pleased with the result, being able to get that dive offs, put this Gwen even further behind as we get to see the replay of Home 2 and Uniboy having a bit of a scrap, but once that CC gets bopped, and really nice
I was wondering.
use. Yeah, really
I was
nice
wondering
use
which
of the
Galio
blast
was
plant.
going to be. Yeah, that was a nice play by Uniboy. But yeah, the moment the Galio here's interest comes in, it's like, wait a minute. Oh, nope, that's going to be Uniboy doing it. Okay. Whale takes a little bit of damage from Lil V there, and maybe we'll push it on back again as he's able to catch up quite nicely in the farm game. But yeah, J-Team have the tempo advantage. A note about the dragons too is since the next one is going to be the ocean, and that first was the cloud, we're pretty much guaranteed to get a pretty solid combat soul.
Yep.
So it's
So
nice
it
to
will
see.
be a stat dragon for our soul. It'll be interesting and fun to see which one it
Aren't they
actually
all
ends up
stat
being.
dragons, Night Star? It's just some are less stats,
True.
or less desirable stats, if you will.
Okay,
They're all good
possible
dragons.
setup.
Good
Oh,
flash from Lil
that's a
V,
whip.
and the hook doesn't go from Enzo, but he is going to try and get that knockup
Could get
on
the
the depth charge.
kill.
Lil V stays alive, burns both his summoners. But he is going to be able to get away a little out of position, and Enzo very far forward into MFT jungle.
Yeah, Enzo trying to get some vision down, and Lil V just kind of saying, "Hey, you know, I want to play forward to make sure if my support runs into trouble, I can help bail him out." Unfortunately, he doesn't account for the fact that they could just turn on to him instead.
Yeah.
And Enzo not quite, well, close enough to actually be able to save him in the end. But
Boy, from downtown, they make the play
Persistence.
once again, and Taco is able to cut him down to size. I really like this swap up because it enabled such a great play. With Whale now dealing with Rock, even with the 2-level disadvantage, picking up a fair amount of CS and farm.
yeah, and this is a fantastic swap coming in from MFT, knowing that, hey, we definitely don't win this 1v1 now that Taco got denied a huge wave at his tower by dying to that dive. So we just need to swap our Kalista into that situation, and then they keep their support down in the bot lane, and they go for the kill on Lil V. It ends up paying off here, and that tightens up the gold differential.
Yeah, this is a great adaptation. I mean, MFT, we don't often expect this out of teams that are further down in the standings. They usually don't have the good game sense to adapt in those situations, and we see them, you know, losing out more often than not because they just keep falling behind. MFT are always a team with a game plan, and clearly they have leveled it up. I love this change-up. They're still down about 1,000 gold at 10 minutes, but they are making changes, making it a little bit harder for the J team to win more, as it were. They will look for a rotation down the bottom. Who's out of position? Once again, it's Lil V. No flash this time. 665 an issue on the chase. That's going to be into the Heartbreaker. And yeah, Lil V knows he is absolutely a dead man. Cannot get away. 665 is on the board.
This is some of the issues that we saw during the spring. Kind of come back to haunt them, perhaps, again.
Oh, yeah.
As
it's happening
Lil V
again.
Was really, Lil V, he was picked on so much during Spring Split. If you went ahead, banned him out, or just sent a bunch of jungle attention down in that bottom lane, he was really just put off kilter. As now, we're going to try and get some plates here. And it looks like they're going to try and push for tower, but the teleport and the roam.
That's everybody really investing the time and effort in, but they even managed to get the stun off on a whale. He is going to burn his own cleanse to get out of dodge, and Uniboy comes in, steals the Leona ultimate, pops it, forces the flash out of whale. It's a good reaction from J-Team as they deny the Herald push and dive. They should be able to set themselves up for this Ocean Dragon nicely. They're going to lose some plate pressure by Taco in exchange for it, though. Here comes the dive once again. Whale, loose mighty on, here comes Rocket to the back, that counter-strike, that's enough! They get the kill, not only do they do that, they get the double, cleaning up issue, great moves, and it means Rock gets on the board with 2 kills, they'll get more plates, the teleport back up, they can claim the dragon as well, everything comes up J-Team.
J-Team with a huge play, if they don't find that play right afterwards, 665, he's still looking to try and go for a steal, they have the Galio ultimate available, they might actually just YOLO into it, but they end up pulling off in the end. Yeah, for the side of J-Team, if they don't find those 2 kills, it's just such a massive win for the side of MFT. But because the situation diffuses early on, Home 2 actually just goes back into the mid lane, and once he shows there, J-Team, they pull the trigger and continue to try and force the issue. Because of that, those extra plate the extra plate gold that MFT were able to snag up doesn't mean as much. Whereas before, it could have just been, hey, they don't get those 2 kills, MFT, they get plates, and they only trade out for an Ocean Dragon. Again, one of those dragons that doesn't really provide a lot of combat stats.
This was a great read by J-Team. They really knew that the MFT game plan hinged on keeping Lil V down, bullying him over and over again. So they used that against them. Just saying, all right, well, we're going to bring everybody to the party, and then the moment Hong 2 backed off, they knew they could make the dive happen down bot, and Kongye is right back on this bottom lane. Issue and Whale are going to have to head for the hills because their tower is not long for the rift, calling in 665 for a bit of help, but there's nothing to fight over here, so it won't happen. Uniboy, as for Hong 2, does have the needlework stolen from a Gwen earlier if he wanted to use it. Hong 2 knows he can't fight this out. Kongye runs into 665 an issue, but is tanky enough to back away, and I'm really liking this jungle Sejuani pick. Can go the full tank and still have some great engage in the hands of Kongye. Is a great champion to start these fights off for J-Team.
Hook 5 around.
Find issue. They want to chase this. Here comes
Uniboy's here.
Hero's entrance should be coming in shortly, but Enzo is able to go golden through it, and now the second wind effort. Moonlight Vigil does land. Enzo taking a lot of damage. Needlework stolen and used. As Hong 2 and 665 take a lot of damage. The Glacial Prison comes through, but they don't have the follow-up to do it. They back away, and nobody goes down in this fight.
A lot of cooldowns thrown, but no kills to actually come out of that exchange. Hong 2 also has to burn both of his summoners. And on the flip side, they still have everything except for Enzo's summoners, which, well, not the biggest of Not the biggest deal, but issue
Yeah.
might be a little bit too far forward.
Okay, he just sidesteps out the slow, and this should be the tower shortly. MFT really want to get that first brick, and they'll secure it. But they, man, they had to work for it. Now, J-Team are reading Meta Falcon Team a lot better in the last 5-6 minutes of this game. They are reacting quicker, and I like that. That's something we didn't see out of them last game until the 30-minute mark.
Yeah, being a little bit more proactive and trying to force their own plays in response to J-Team. But J-Team also being a lot more proactive in just creating their own plays, right? That's what we didn't see. It was them just sort of letting the game happen and saying, you know what, we're the better players. Once it gets to late game, we'll probably win out because we can outhands them. And it got really dicey because they didn't have the scaling quite there to fully allow that to occur. This time, they do have the scaling, and they're also making enough moves that they're not giving too much leeway to MFT as well.
Yeah, J-Team have clearly recognized that the complacency has been killing them, so they are moving as a unit, starting off on this Herald. Uniboy looking to run interference, and MFT would love to fight for this, but there goes Glacial Prison. They turn their attention, but a split focus, and the channel on for the Hero's entrance. They take a lot of time, but they do take a lot of damage, and J-Team just line them up and knock them down. Lil V gets hung to out of this one, and Issue is got nowhere to go. The double kill for Lil V, even Rock picks one up, and they also secure the Herald off the back of it. J-Team get everything they wanted.
And for the side of MFT, they got stuck in that choke point, and you just can't navigate around the stolen Galio ultimate in that case because you're running 4 melee champions of your own along with a very low range AD carry in the Callista. And as you see here, they just get stuck in the choke point. They can't do anything, and once the Galio ultimate comes down, Whale also just cannot auto. He maybe gets 2 autos, maybe even 3. That entire fight. And this is going to be a very one-sided damage chart when that damage chart does show up.
Yeah, it really wasn't much of a team fight, more of a cleanup, and J-Team, they knew exactly what they were doing there. Rock sitting in the middle with the Counter-Strike. This Jax is fully online. Mob Melmortius now completed in addition to the Divine Sunderer, and that is going to be a problem.
Problem's a bit of an understatement.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah,
they
maybe
have
just a little
so
bit.
much magic damage built into their composition from the top lane, mid lane, and also a little bit from the support that this magic resistance heavy build is going to nullify a ton of that damage.
Uniboy's done such a great job on this Silas, by the way. I just want to shout out, like, his job has basically been take the best ultimate that he can and use it to either set up a fight or set up a counter engage. A lot of the time it's been Hongtu's Galio, but yeah, see what he can do here with that Solar Flare as the Infernal Dragon is live. 18 minutes on the game, and MFT realize they are choked once again. Here we go for the fight. Rock into the front line, and they just can't really do enough damage to take him out of this one, but he is forced to flash away as they couldn't quite follow through. Moonlight Vigil does a lot to chip the health bars away, and that's going to be Taco taken out of this one. Rock will finally fall, but it is well worth the effort as 665 can go absolutely nowhere. Lil V picking up a second, and soon to be more if they can keep this chase going, but they do not need it. So they'll back away to reset, take the Drake. Not as clean of a fight as we've seen from J-Team before, but they still get the win.
They get the win, and feels like they want to try and get a little bit more
Yeah,
here.
they do! Here we go, the hooks are right on. Uniboy's buying some time for his team, and they will be able to grab Hong 2 and then some as the flash under tower looking for Issue to clean him up. The triple kill comes through as Uniboy gets himself on the board with some kills.
Boy, just popping off, getting the MVP in the previous game, and now lands himself a triple.
Meanwhile,
And
Koge
19 minutes.
didn't even need to be there. It's just like, I got Dragon, guys. You guys have fun in mid lane. This is very confident from J-Team, and they have earned it. This is so much different, so much better than last game.
Yeah, absolutely. We get to see the replay here. Korea just knows, hey, we are so strong at this point. Why? It's because we have an Aphelios, they have a Callista. Callista doesn't have a whole lot of kills at this stage in the game, which means that there is no threat onto our backline champion of Aphelios. So Aphelios just gets to unload so much damage.
How many
And
years of game design was that play? That's what I want to know.
That was, you know, at probably around the 120 mark.
Okay, it's respectable. He's
yeah,
ramping
not
up.
the full 200, but he's definitely ramping up, and he's really, really scary. And the side of MFT, they don't have any dive pressure. This is a much different composition, or should be, than what they ran in the previous game, where they should be looking for more of those flanks that J-Team saw. And MFT, if they take 30 minutes to try and figure that part out, well, the game's probably over by then.
Yeah, this is a pretty big gold lead here. It's about 6,000. The Dragon lead as well. We're not even looking at the damage charts because it just has been all J-Team. They're going to be overrunning into the MFT side. Now setting up for another play. Konge's been absolutely fire with these ice bolas. We'll see if he finds another one again. Just an optimistic push. Not going to get it here. Baron being live does mean they can maybe turn if they get a fight off the back of this one. And letting the Galio come in means to look for the reset. Rock a little bit slow on this transition, though, so they could be in trouble. They tag in. She takes a lot of the damage. Konge does fall, but here's the second win. They have the damage. The double kill for Lil V, and he is just pumping it out as the tanks hold firm. A massive win again. A triple kill for Lil V. Right on to Baron Nashor. They only lose their jungle.
Pyra, this could have been a Camille Gallia combination. The side of J-Team, they did not ban out this Camille pick, and if you're looking for a way to kill Lil V, it's Camille Gallia. Instead, they throw out the Gallia ultimate, doesn't find anything. It's also Inferno Rift, so there's so much more space to play around. And they just can't get onto the Vilio. Guys, he's the only champion we should care about, but instead they turn all their attention and damage onto the Sejuani, who is running Aftershock. So it just makes her even tankier than per usual. And it is not, the target selection is just not panning out for the side of MFT.
No, MFT are crashing harder than Crypto right now, so not a whole lot they can do to get back into this game. You have to start thinking about what they're going to be doing in Game 3, barring a miracle fight. Maybe Taco gets those flanks, but all of a sudden it's night and day from the first game.
Yeah, and they're really baiting this one out.
Yep,
and they're going to be successful.
Crack the gargoyle. Down he goes. Even Konge's getting on the board with kills, so now they're going to be able to get themselves that tower. Baron empowered, easily peasily. Uniboy still on mid lane, shoving the wave. Looking to end this one quickly as J-Team.
Baron minions coming in. They don't really have any Baron minion. Okay, maybe an overextension.
Okay, maybe just a little bit. That's okay. She's able to tank through it, but it's low risk. It's not much of an overextension if you don't die, right? And Rock just throws on the counter-strike. Takes a little more damage than he maybe should have. And Taco, meanwhile, is trying to go in the hunt to pick up the first tower MFT have got in about 10 minutes.
Yeah, teleport coming in. It looks like J-Team, they want to go for a game-ending play.
Why not? The way they're leading right now, certainly much more confident team in Game 2. Looking for that one. They do manage to take 665 out before Hong 2 can even arrive. The inhibitor is going to be felled, and now they rotate. Look for more. Look for picks if they can find it. Rock is a monster. Lil V has been untouched. J-Team seem to be able to do no wrong in this game too, and Rock, even though he gets caught, he turns around into all the members. Absolutely no fear. Now it's stolen Galio. Uniboy comes in. Enzo gets taunted, but he's able to flash out to safety, and this is going to be the game winner right now for J-Team. 20 kills, make it 21. What the hell? Make it 22 and 23. We're going to end this one right here, right now, even with 665 coming back on the board. He's immediately chased back to Fountain. They keep him stiff-armed, and they're just going to keep padding those stats in this one. Lil V peppering him with chakrams. He'll take him down. Finally, they get shut down. Doesn't matter. 24 minutes on the clock, and they get the win. Going up to match point.
Kill per minute. This is the J-Team we expected to see. Just go ahead, ground pound your opposition. It took a game to do it, but they figured out the method to the madness, and this is the team we expected. And for MFT, now they've got really the monster to deal with. They poked it awake, and finally, you know, here they are.
Something about sleeping giants, 9-star. J-Team have finally woken up, and oh boy, they find themselves in the lower bracket. I think it will be a angry morning for this squad as they look to start the redemption arc. If they can close this one out with a sweep, that would put to bed some of the doubters. I think they still have a long road to go, but that was a lot better. That's what we expected to see from this team.
Absolutely. And for J-Team, a much needed confidence boost. Maybe getting rid of some of those jitters in game number 1. Probably left over from their series loss, to be fair, in their series 2 days ago. But this is everything we wanted to see, right? You get an advantage and you really reinforce that advantage. Continue to attack those edges, and Uniboy this time around, like, he gets to Silas. As I mentioned before, Silas is here. He's a completely different player. And even though in game 1 on the Ari pick, he was able to find those later game team fights, it's just a completely different beast when he's on Silas and he gets to make early game plays.
Yeah, and for Hong too, that Galio is really a liability because he wasn't getting nearly as much out of his own ultimate as Uniboy was. Uniboy was resetting fights off the back of it, and you have to consider that. Obviously, you know, when the Silas comes into play even earlier, but the Galio didn't do nearly enough to combo up. The Callista never got to get rolling, and very clearly, J-Team knew how to play against it. There's a reason they preferred it themselves, but that was a much better play of protecting Lil V, or at the very least being on the offense so hard, so deep that there was never a chance for Lil V to be chased down because everyone on MFT was focused on defending their own front line.
Yeah, and the difficulty when playing a flank composition is when you get engaged upon, you don't get the time to set up your flanks. So that's why we saw J-Team be so decisive, because if given the time, then you have the Gwen coming in from behind or the Galio, and then Lil V finds these fights a lot harder to play out. But I think J-Team learned a lot from game number 1 as well, right? They were playing the flank composition. They struggled a lot before they were able to establish flanks. But now, this time around, they took those lessons to heart and just said, hey, if we just go on a dime, then Lil V gets the extra space because they aren't trying to find angles to come in from behind.
Yeah, much better protection. Uniboy using that hero's entrance to make a big play once again. And you can see, as soon as they realized they could get aggressive, they never let up the pressure. Big ups to Konge. I really liked the Sejuani tech as it was the flex into the jungle with so many bans thrown his way. He still found a way, still found an answer. And even when they were in a bad position like this, well, they turn it all around. Part of it's target selection. Konge takes a lot of damage here, and he does go down. But that's all of the big abilities used, dumped into the tank. And then J-Team say, all right, it's our turn. Rock absorbs a lot of pressure. Uniboy's still completely untouched in the back, and they funnel into the choke point and just get deleted. Lil V was just like the biggest bait of all time. They thought they could take him out, but he was well protected.
Yeah, they just never turned their attention towards Lil V. And on the Sophilios pick, again, this is his big comfort champion. I don't hate that MFT went to the blue side. I think they should stay onto the blue side, but they do need to change a couple of things. Like, 5 bans towards Kongrye? He's not the main carry. If you threw 5 bans to Lil V, I can understand.
Yeah, I think they were worried a little bit about maybe draining their own champion pool in the bot lane, but I agree. I think another couple of champions targeting out Lil V or maybe even Taco, because he had a standout performance with a little bit of help from the Sejuani. Uniboy as well. You have to consider that Silas is a huge threat that you do not want to deal with. It was a very different look, even from the Ari. He did get rolling on that in game number 1, but it took a while. I think MFT have to download this J-Team composition and adjust their strategy.
And there was the opportunity to do so from MFT, right? They could have gone for the Camille, or they could have done some, if they wanted to play more front to back, they go for the Zir rather than the Galio. And in both cases, they just kind of sat in the middle where they were like, yeah, we'll play a little bit of dive and then we'll play a little bit of front to back. And as a result, it was just too discombobulated of composition. Rock gets the MVP. He dominated that top lane. And a lot of the macro that came out from MFT was in due part because they didn't have a way to deal with Rock in the early game.
Yeah, trying to shut the Jacks down is always going to be a good strategy if you don't want to get rolled over, but they did. And the top laner from J-Team was rock solid this time around. Really, really good playing. I'm loving to see him back as he had a bit of a lackluster performance in the previous series, and I think that is going to be a cause for concern. If you are MFT going into this Game 3, you want to stay alive and keep your chances at a deep run in the playoffs.
Yeah, for MFT, they've only got one option left if they're going to try and make a run and take this series. They have yet to win a single playoff game.
We'll see if they can do it right after this break. We'll be right back with Match Point.